Chapter 237 Three-Way Fusion Skill of the Three Wolf Apes. The Eye of Destiny opened again, and Huo Yuao activated his spiritual detection once again. With Wang Qiu's help, his spiritual powers were greatly enhanced. During the process of detection, his sensors continued to extend 3 kilometers past his previous limit. Huo Yuao's body turned slowly, and his vertical eye shone with golden light. The light illuminated everything. He didn't harbor any hopes of finding his companions directly. However, obtaining clues would make it easier for him to track them down. Very soon, Huo Yuao's gaze fixed in a certain direction. Let's go. Huo Yuao lifted his feet and dragged Wang Qiu along with him. Wang Qiu had no intention of letting go of his hand. When their martial souls fused together, their speed greatly increased. Huo Yuao continued to use his spiritual detection to search for clues, and finally found the place that they originally fought at. The female bear's corpse had disappeared, but there were still large patches of bloodstains and marks on the ground. When they followed the trail back to the place where they had been separated from the rest, they didn't find the Shrek King there. Wang Qiu furrowed her brow and said, "What do we do now? We don't know where they've gone, and the forest is so huge. Why don't we find a suitable soul beast for you first? With our strength, we should be able to handle things." Huo Yuao shook his head. His eyes were filled with golden light, as if he was searching for something. Very soon, his gaze fixed on a large tree not far away. He walked quickly up to the tree and squatted down to take a closer look at it. Wang Qiu had just joined Shrek Academy, and hadn't been influenced by Shrek Academy's culture yet. Huo Yuao was different. He had been in the academy for a long time, and even gone through the ultimate soldier plan. He naturally recognized some of Shrek Academy's specific markings. After heaving a sigh of relief, Huo Yuao stood straight and said, "They're all right. The 3 brothers should have left. This marking was left by eldest senior sister, which indicates that they're safe. They went in that direction to find us." As he spoke, he pointed ahead. Wang Qiu nodded and didn't say anything more. The 2 of them continued on their way. On the way, Huo Yuao used his spiritual detection to look for more markings left behind by Janla Sun. His luck was pretty good, as he kept finding them. At this point, the sun was already high in the sky. It had just hit noon. Huo Yuao didn't borrow Wang Qiu's strength anymore, unless he no longer held her hand. The 2 of them didn't speak to each other along the way, and barely had any interaction. Huo Yuao walked in front, while Wang Qiu followed silently behind him. Everything seemed very simple and calm. At this point, they were slowly venturing deep into the hybrid region. Huo Yuao didn't move quickly. Whenever he discovered a strong soul beast, he would wait cautiously. He tried his best to avoid fighting. Wang Qiu followed behind him, concealing her surprise. Janla Sun had led the team earlier, and thus Huo Yuao hadn't had a chance to lead. However, only the 2 of them were left now. He demonstrated his rich wealth of experience and composure by exploiting the terrain, using his spiritual detection well, and demonstrating his familiarity with the habits of various types of soul beasts. They rarely fought along the way. Most of the time, he avoided the aggressive soul beasts using his spiritual detection. Although it was also slightly related to the fact that there were only the 2 of them, it was mostly because of Huo Yuao's control. Let's rest for a while before eating. After walking for almost 4 hours, it was already close to evening. Apart from fighting, the 2 of them were rushing to locate the rest of the team the whole day. They were naturally fatigued, so Huo Yuao suggested they rest for a while. Wang Qiu shot him a look and said, "I thought you were a machine who doesn't know what being tired is." Huo Yuao was a little apologetic as he replied, "I'm sorry. I'm just anxious to find the rest in case they're worried about us." Wang Qiu found a spot on higher ground for them to rest at. Huo Yuao took out some dry rations and water for her from his storage type soul tool. Wang Qiu took the baked bun from him and heated it up with her palm before returning it to him. After that, she also started to eat. This was her second time eating his food. This time, she didn't waste any of it. Although she didn't eat quickly, she still managed to consume 2 baked buns. Huo Yuao ate 4 of them. Since he was still growing, he naturally ate more. After drinking some water, Huo Yuao said, "Wait for me here. I'll be back soon." He didn't tell Wang Qiu where he was going, and ran into the forest. She was slightly stunned, and was in a daze as she watched him leave. She placed her spear on her legs and caressed its haft softly. Her eyes flashed with light as she was lost in thought. Is he going to return? For some reason, she thought of this even though she shouldn't need to. She didn't even know why she was doing this. However, she was afraid when she imagined that Huo Yuao might not return. Fear was an emotion that had never appeared in her heart before. Fortunately, this fear didn't last for long. Huo Yuao returned after a while, and he seemed to be carrying something in his clothes. "Come, eat this." Huo Yuao squatted down in front of Wang Qiu. He took out a bunch of purple fruit. The fruit looked extremely plump, and each was the size of a kid's fist. The juices from the fruit seeped from their skins. Even though it was evening and the sunlight was getting dim, the juices could still be seen glistening on them. Seeing that Wang Qiu was in a daze, Huo Yuao asked, "We can't always eat dry rations. This type of purple fruit tastes pretty nice. They taste sweet and sour, and are also quite nutritious. I discovered them when I used my spiritual detection earlier." Wang Qiu seemed to only recover from her daze at this moment. She took one of the fruits and bit into it. She tasted a very strong sourness when she took the first bite. She felt that her teeth were going to fall off, and groaned slightly. She shot Huo Yuao a protesting look as she lifted her head. Huo Yuao continued to smile as he looked at her. There was a look of eagerness in his eyes. Indeed, her look disappeared in a moment. The taste of this purple fruit was very weird. It was very sour as it first entered one's mouth, but this sour taste soon disappeared. What replaced it was a refreshingly sweet taste. As the juices entered one's stomach, the refreshing feeling helped wash away one's fatigue. Huo Yuao smiled and said, "The teacher who taught us about nutrition told us that the taste of this purple fruit is like life. There's always a sour and sweet part to it. How is it?" "It's pretty good, right?" Wang Qiu glared at him and answered, "I'm actually a carnivore. As long as there's meat, I'm okay." Although she said this, he reached out both her hands to grab 2 more fruits from Huo Yuao's leaves. She took half of what he had plucked. Huo Yuao smiled but didn't mock her. He sat to one side and started to eat. He left some at the end before wrapping it up. "For her?" Wang Qiu asked. "Yes. Donga hasn't had these purple fruits before. It's a pity that these were the only ones that were ripe. Otherwise, we could share them with everyone." Huo Yuao answered. How could he forget Wang Donga as he tasted such a delicacy? At this point, a streak of golden light suddenly flashed. A sudden threat surfaced. Huo Yuao moved his body subconsciously. He heard a puffing sound, and the handkerchief used to wrap the fruits was torn open by the streak of golden light. After that, the bag of fruits burst open as the golden light scattered, and the fruits were turned into juice before scattering on the ground. "What are you doing?" Huo Yuao was furious as he looked at Wang Qiu. She lifted her head and said arrogantly, "I won't allow you to share what I've eaten with the rest. You're crazy." Huo Yuao clenched his fist. As he looked at the juice on the ground, he had the impulse to fight her. Wang Qiu said proudly, "If you're unconvinced, you can try. However, you won't get the fruits back even if you beat me." Huo Yuao took in a deep breath and glared at her. After a while, he said, "When we return to the academy, I'll challenge you." After he finished speaking, he turned around and left. He stopped resting and continued on with the journey. Wang Qiu, who had gone through thick and thin with him earlier, actually did such an unreasonable thing. His impression of her dipped significantly. However, they were in the Great Stardow Forest, and it wasn't the place for him to rage. Wang Qiu revealed a slightly lonely look in her eyes as she watched Huo Yuao's back. She clenched her lips as she glanced at the juice on the ground. She lifted her golden dragon spear and chased after him. After this confrontation, they spoke even less to each other. Huo Yuao explored the way seriously in front, while Wang Qiu followed silently behind him. The sky was gradually getting darker. The Great Stardow Forest was much more dangerous at night. Many soul beasts would appear during the night, while to humans, nighttime was the time when they would feel tired. From the markings left behind, they shouldn't be too far from the rest of the team. However, they couldn't verify this conjecture. Furthermore, Huo Yuao had also discovered that the rest of the group hadn't ventured deeper into the Great Stardow Forest, but were moving up and down within the hybrid region. Evidently, they were looking for him and Wang Qiu. In addition, their anxiety was evident from the markings they left behind as they searched for them. If they slowed down a little right now, Huo Yuao and Wang Qiu would be able to catch up to them. "I'm tired." As the sky gradually turned dark, Wang Qiu suddenly shouted from behind him. Hua Yuao turned to look at her. After 2 more hours of rushing, he had finally calmed down. He walked back to Wang Qiu and said, "Then let's rest. The others should be looking for us. They should be resting as night falls. We can rest for 2 hours before moving off again. We must find them tonight. Otherwise, it'll be much more difficult to find them when they move off again tomorrow morning." Wang Qiu nodded and said, "Okay." The two of them sat down, and Hua Yuao retrieved some dry rations for her. Wang Qiu asked, "I damaged your fruits, but you're still giving me dry rations." Hua Yuao stuffed the rations into her hands and replied, "We're not kids anymore. Don't throw a tantrum again." Wang Qiu was stunned by his words. Even though she was older than him, she felt like she was being lectured by an elder brother at this point. She couldn't help but clench her fists as she looked at Hua Yuao's profile. She wanted to ask him what right he had to lecture her. However, she couldn't spit the words out, and only heated up the dry rations quietly before giving him some. Hua Yuao said, "After you finish eating, carry on with your deep meditation. You've never really rested properly today. I can meditate after you recover." As he spoke, he took the dry rations and walked to one side. His spiritual detection was still activated as he surveyed his surroundings for any potential threats. Wang Qiu felt a little regretful as she consumed the dry rations. She regretted her impulsiveness and could sense that her relationship with Hua Yuao had grown more distant because of what she had done earlier. There hadn't been any reason for it. She had just done what she wanted to do. Her eyes were filled with a proud yet stubborn look. She even had the urge to throw the baked bun in her hand way before telling Hua Yuao that she didn't need him to show her any mercy or lecture her. However, she was reminded of his teary look when she lifted her right hand. He was crying as he recounted the story of his mother and the baked bun. The pride in her eyes disappeared, and she stuffed the baked bun back into her mouth again. Her proud gaze slowly faded, and she seemed slightly lost. "Be careful." At this point, Hua Yuao's voice sounded. Following this, he shared his spiritual detection with her. Wang Qiu's lost gaze focused once again. She lifted her golden dragon spear as she jumped up. She had also discovered the presence of a threat without Hua Yuao's verbal warning. 3 pitch black wolf-type soul beasts were coming in their direction at an alarming speed. These soul beasts were all more than 5 meters long, and around 1.5 meters at the shoulder. They were the size of huge soul beasts, such as tigers and lions. It was very rare for wolf-type soul beasts to be so huge. Mutants. Hua Yuao shouted. A white halo had already spread from his body. It was the halo of enfeeblement. The only reason why wolf-type soul beasts could be so huge was because they were mutants. They were even very strong mutants. Mutant soul beasts were a very important research topic in the academy. They were like mutated martial souls. After the mutation, they could become stronger or weaker. These 3 wolf-type soul beasts were evidently some of the stronger ones. Their cultivations couldn't even be clearly distinguished before they arrived in front of Hua Yuao and Wang Qiu. Hua Yuao's mass enfeeblement was unleashed appropriately as it engulfed these 3 huge wolves. The 3 wolves weren't shocked by his mass enfeeblement. Rather, they seemed to have been provoked instead. A huge wolf at the front roared, and a layer of purple light started to rise from its belly body. It lifted its claws and stood just like that. Hua Yuao was frightened. That was because the wolf looked like a human as it stood in that way. Only its head resembled that of a wolf. The protruding muscles on its body were filled with explosive strength. The unknown was scary. The 3 wolves discovered them just as Hua Yuao sensed their presence through his spiritual detection. Hua Yuao could clearly tell that they had found them by sniffing them out. The other 2 wolves also stood up, resembling the first wolf. They are mutants between wolves and apes. Wang Qiu said calmly. Hua Yuao was enlightened. No wonder their physiology is so special. Undoubtedly, these 3 soul beasts must have come from the same mother. Otherwise, they wouldn't look so similar. As he thought of this, Hua Yuao suddenly realized something. The 2 dark golden terraclaw bear cubs were still frozen. Hua Yuao had forgotten about them after his fight Zhong Liren, and he had since been focused on rendezvousing with the rest of his teammates. However, it wasn't a good time to release them now. These 3 wolf apes didn't rush to attack them. They first circled around them slowly. Not only did they possess physically strong bodies, but their intelligence was also rather high. This was also a very naughty situation for Hua Yuao and Wang Qiu. Such opponents were very difficult to deal with. Hua Yuao and Wang Qiu stood back to back. They didn't stretch out their hands to fuse their martial souls. Hua Yuao's spiritual detection engulfed the entire battlefield, and a layer of golden light also covered his entire body. These 3 huge wolves were at least at the 10,000-year level. They couldn't afford to be careless. Suddenly, the wolf at the front moved, his body flashing slightly. Following this, a thick aura of darkness was released from its body. Purplish black bubbles started to spread and approach Hua Yuao and Wang Qiu. A darkness-type soul skill. Wang Qiu shouted. Seeing that the purplish black bubbles spreading towards her and Hua Yuao, she stomped her right foot on the ground, and a terrifying golden wave was unleashed. In terms of strength, Wang Qiu's control was very strong. As she stomped, the immense quake avoided Hua Yuao and didn't impact him at all. Some purplish black bubbles were destroyed by this quake, but they still continued to force their way forward. Wang Qiu lifted her golden dragon spear, and a sonorous dragon roar sounded. Her 6 soul rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple and 2 black, rose from her feet. Her first soul ring started to shine brightly, and a layer of thick golden light instantly covered every part of her body. This was her first soul skill, the golden dragon body. Wang Qiu didn't say anything to Hua Yuao as she stomped her foot before she burst forward. She targeted the wolf ape standing at the front. Her spear carried a piercing whizzing sound as it struck towards the wolf ape's eyes. Just as she attacked, the other 2 wolf apes also moved at the same time. They didn't try to aid their partner, but leapt towards Hua Yuao. Evidently, they wanted to kill Hua Yuao first by outnumbering him. Hua Yuao's eyes shone, and he leapt forward as he used his ghost shadow perplexing track, following Wang Qiu. In this direction, the bubbles that had spread all over had been dissipated by Wang Qiu's golden dragon soul power. He turned in midair, and a layer of diamond ice crystals covered his body. It was the Ice Empress armor. His orange soul rings also rose from his feet. A blade light that carried an ultimate chill flashed before disappearing. The light projection that was formed engulfed the wolf apes that had burst over. Unparalleled chill. Emperor sword. This sword didn't move smoothly. When Hua Yuao wielded it, his wrist jerked slightly. This caused the sword to move in a beautiful arc. The chilly aura of his ultimate eye struck the throats of the 2 wolf apes. This slowed them down. The 3 wolf apes were very cunning. However, Hua Yuao also had his own plan of attack. After teaming up with Wang Qiu for a few fights, he had a deeper understanding and greater confidence in her. If she couldn't take care of the wolf ape in a duel, then they had no chance in a 2 versus 3 fight. That was why Hua Yuao's goal was very simple. Stall these 2 wolf apes in front of him and buy some time for Wang Qiu. While they shared a tense relationship, Hua Yuao didn't dare to abandon her as they faced common enemies. The 2 wolf apes stopped in midair. They seemed to have developed the same feeling, that if they proceeded any further, their throats would be hit by the terrifying chill. Even though they hadn't been struck by it yet, they were already shivering. However, a surprising situation occurred. As his unparalleled chill, Emperor sword stopped the 2 wolf apes. They suddenly disappeared at the same time. The instant they stopped in front of his chilly sword light. Shit, Hua Yuao cursed in his heart. His spiritual detection could predict his opponent's moves, but he couldn't predict what their soul skills were. Both he and Wang Qiu didn't have a sufficient understanding of these 3 wolf apes. He didn't expect these wolf apes to be able to unleash a skill like instant teleportation. Hua Yuao didn't hesitate as he pressed his toes against the ground before flipping his body over in the air. Indeed, the 2 wolf apes didn't just avoid his Emperor sword with their instant teleportation. They even landed behind him and started to encircle Wang Qiu along with the other wolf ape. At this point, it was 3 wolf apes against Wang Qiu. Wang Qiu had stabbed the middle wolf ape with her spear earlier, but it was too quick. It had retreated instantly and widened its gap with the golden dragon spear. At the same time, its body swayed, and 2 illusory doubles of it formed. This soul skill reminded Wang Qiu of spectre wolves. Undoubtedly, these few wolf apes must have some kind of blood relation to spectre wolves. The 2 spectres leapt forward and resisted Wang Qiu's attack. She kept on swinging her spear, creating countless streaks of spearlight. Perhaps she had been holding in her anger after her falling out with Hua Yuao, but right now, she vented all her anger. The 2 spectral wolves that leapt towards her were torn to pieces. However, the other 2 wolf apes that had teleported behind her and the wolf ape in front of her all leapt at her at the same time. They all released an intense, purplish black glow from their bodies. They first unleashed purplish black projections that were roughly the same size as them. 3 projections rushed out at the same time and burst towards Wang Qiu. Wang Qiu roared into the sky, and a golden dragon projection appeared. She started to combust like a small sun. combust like a small sun. It was her second soul skill, dragon strength. As her figure spun around, she stabbed her spear into the ground, and her fourth soul ring lit up. Her dragon roars were even more spirited. The head of the projection started to expand and swallowed Wang Qiu. Following this, a frightening explosion occurred. Boom. Wang Qiu's fighting style was always so forceful. The tremendous explosion caused the three projections to be blown to pieces. Everything within a 10-meter radius was blown to pieces. However, the three wolf apes were too cunning. As the explosion happened, their bodies disappeared at the same time. They couldn't withstand the explosive force of Wang Qiu's fourth soul skill, the golden dragon's explosion. When they appeared again, they were divided once again. This time, they were encircling Hua Yuao. The three wolf apes combined into one entity, and purplish-black halos started to light up from their feet. The three purplish-black halos that lit up started to expand in size. When they combined together, Hua Yuao was trapped. Instantly, Hua Yuao felt that he was restrained by an immense strength. He tried to activate his soul power, but it stiffened up. An indescribable, terrifying wave of pressure dragged him down from the air. At this point, the three wolf apes had almost turned to transparent purplish-black. A formidable, purplish-black fog started to rise. The intersecting halos shone brightly and trapped Hua Yuao firmly within. This wasn't good. Was this the legendary three-way martial soul fusion skill? There were two types of martial soul fusion skills. The first type was formed when many soul masters exhibited their compatible martial souls at the same time. While this kind of soul skill could be considered a martial soul fusion skill, they were enhanced only because the soul masters complemented one another. Real martial soul fusion skills were like Hua Yuao with Wang Donga and Wang Qiu. Their martial souls fused within their bodies, generating huge strength and causing transformations. This kind of transformation usually only occurred with two people at one time. Shrek Academy had a record of a three-way martial soul fusion skill. It was formed by the Golden Iron Triangle, which consisted of Lu Erlong, the Grandmaster, and the four-eyed eagle cat Flanders, Shrek Academy's founder. It was called the Golden Holy Dragon's Call. That wasn't a golden dragon, but a golden holy dragon, which was light type. It was different from Wang Qiu, who was pure strength type. It could be considered an enhancement of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. The Grandmaster had been a descendant of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon. Due to their three-way martial soul fusion skill, they were called the Golden Iron Triangle. However, there had been no further occurrences of a three-way martial soul fusion skills in Shrek Academy's history apart from the three of them. This showed how difficult it was for such an occurrence and to achieve compatibility. At this moment, this legendary ability was used by these three soul beasts. Furthermore, they used this martial soul fusion skill very aptly and trapped Hua Yuao, who was completely unprepared for this. Right now, Hua Yuao only felt that it was very difficult to breathe. The immense pressure completely suppressed his spiritual and soul power. Even the Eye of Destiny was suppressed until it couldn't open. As the three of them combined into one entity, their powers increased exponentially. As a dark purplish radiance rose from the ground. Hua Yuao felt that his body was about to dissolve. Hua Yuao wasn't the only shocked one. Wang Qiu was equally stunned. She was as unfamiliar with these three wolf apes as he was. Seeing that Hua Yuao was in danger, she didn't hesitate as she threw her golden dragon spear out. Amidst a piercing whiz, the spear carried the golden dragon projection and tore through space before landing on one wolf ape's body. However, that wolf ape only glanced at Wang Qiu. There was a scornful look in its eyes. Yes, it was a scornful look. Clang. The spear rebounded as if it had struck an indestructible wall. It didn't cause any harm to the wolf ape, while the dark purplish radiance had already risen from the ground. No. Wang Qiu shouted, and an unprecedented, intense golden light rose from her body. Her eyes turned blood red as her sixth soul ring was activated. Golden Dragon's bloodlust. At this point, she was already shining like a small sun. No one could see her figure clearly anymore. A ball of orange gold light separated from Hua Yuao's body. It was the Snow Lady. She wore a solemn expression on her face. As her figure flashed, she appeared behind Hua Yuao. She rapidly grew larger and larger, and regained the original look of the Snow Empress. As she pointed one hand into the sky and one hand to the ground, an orange gold glow started to expand. Hua Yuao's body was engulfed within it. However, the Snow Lady's strength belonged to Hua Yuao. She normally absorbed her strength from him, but there was an even greater strength suppressing him. Although she had given it her all already, it was only barely effective for Hua Yuao. Hua Yuao took a deep breath. He knew that it was impossible for him to retreat this time. However, he wasn't afraid at this point. With the Snow Lady's help, he had managed to suppress the rising dark purplish radiance. He was also able to exhibit some of his abilities at this moment. He first unleashed the Ice Empress armor. At this point, the Snow Empress 3 ultimate techniques couldn't be used, as the Snow Lady was giving her all to resist the three-way martial fusion soul skill. Hua Yuao's Eye of Destiny opened. His damaged spiritual origin was mobilized. His terrifying spiritual power started to combine with his soul power at a rapid rate. The aura of the Sovereign's descent started to soar. He wanted to use his cultivation to resist the martial fusion soul skill with the Snow Empress help. He believed that Wang Qiu wouldn't let these three wolf apes off after they had used such a powerful skill if he could survive their attack. Just as Hua Yuao was determined to fight his way out of this, a golden projection suddenly appeared in front of him. Following this figure went into his arms. Their foreheads met, and he could smell her breath. A vigorous strength engulfed every part of his body. The bright gold turned into thick scales that covered Hua Yuao's chest and head first. Following this, they extended to every part of his body. An indescribable, tremendous strength circulated through his entire body. The terrifying suppression from before seemed unable to stop him at this point. Hua Yuao was covered by a suit of golden armor. There was a huge image of a golden dragon head on his chest. His entire head was covered by a helmet, which also had the appearance of a dragon's head. The dragon scales engulfed his body perfectly. Absolutely no skin was exposed. Hua Yuao roared as an unprecedented force filled him. The Snow Lady returned to his body immediately. Before Hua Yuao could react, his new armor had already unleashed a layer of intense golden light as a defense. The suppressive force was resisted, and dragon roars didn't just echo in the outside world. They also sounded repeatedly in Hua Yuao's head. He could clearly recall that he was looking at Wang Qiu's eyes with their foreheads touching when the dragon scales engulfed his body. Her eyes weren't turquoise at that moment anymore, but a clear gold. It was the purest and most primitive type of gold that could illuminate the depths of everyone's heart. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Also leave a comment down below with suggestions on what novels to read.